Look closely at your walls right now. Are they solid or just code? Everything you see is currently being rewritten into a void. It began with a silver hard drive found in the attic. No labels, just a cold metallic weight in my palm. I plugged it in. The fan roared like a dying animal. One file appeared on the desktop, Reality.Exe, dated 1999. I clicked it. Nothing happened for a minute. Then, the coffee mug on my desk simply ceased to exist visually. I reached for where it was. My hand passed through empty air. The space felt cold, like sticking my arm into liquid nitrogen. The monitor flickered. A progress bar began to crawl across the screen. It said, deleting root directory C:// living room. A loud crack echoed from the hallway. The floorboards were vanishing, leaving a bottomless pit of scrolling green binary code. The ceiling followed. The roof of my house was replaced by stars. But they weren't stars. They were white pixels on a black canvas. I tried to run to the door. The handle turned into a blocky, low-polygon mess that cut into my palms like glass. The hallway stretched. It became a liminal space of yellow wallpaper. My own home was morphing into a place I didn't recognize. I saw a figure at the end of the hall. It was tall, thin, and its face was a smeared texture of static. It moved without walking. It glided across the disappearing carpet. Its footsteps sounded like hard drive clicking noises echoing in my skull. I locked myself in the bathroom. The mirror showed my face, but my eyes were replaced by blue loading circles spinning. The sink began to leak oil. No, it wasn't oil. It was pure ink that formed words on the porcelain. System failure. The walls started to peel like wallpaper. Behind the drywall were circuit boards and pulsing fiber optic cables instead of wood. The progress bar reached 50%. My legs felt light. I looked down and saw my feet were becoming translucent pixels. I tried to scream, but my voice came out as a MIDI. A synthesized tone that lacked any human emotion or breathy depth. The entity was outside the door now. It didn't knock. It just deleted the door and stepped into the small bathroom. It reached out a hand that had 12 fingers. Each finger was a cursor, blinking rhythmically against the flickering fluorescent light overhead. I fell back into the bathtub. It wasn't full of water. It was full of unread emails from the year 1992. The bathroom walls vanished. I was falling through a void. I could see other rooms from my life floating by, like isolated islands. There was the kitchen where I had breakfast. The toaster was burning, emitting a smoke that looked like low-resolution gray clouds. There was my childhood bedroom. My old teddy bear sat on the bed, but its head was a rotating hourglass icon. Everything was being processed. Everything was being optimized. The voice of the entity whispered, "You are an unnecessary background task." I grabbed a floating power cable. It felt like raw electricity and data screaming into my nervous system at once. I pulled myself toward the floating monitor. The Reality.Exe call window was still open, the cursor hovering over the Cancel button. The Cancel button was grayed out. A dialog box popped up. Access denied. Admin privileges are required to exist. The entity appeared behind the window. Its giant static hands began to fold the screen like a piece of paper. I screamed one last time. My lungs were now just folders containing empty documents and broken shortcuts to memories. The progress bar hit 99%. The world went white. Not a bright white, but a flat, empty color. I woke up in a room with no doors. The walls were the color of a blue screen of death. A keyboard sat in the middle of the floor. It was missing every key except for the word, delete. I pressed it. My memories of my mother vanished. I forgot her name, her face, her very existence. I pressed it again. My first kiss. The smell of rain. The feeling of being warm in bed. The entity watched from the corner. It was taking notes on a clipboard made of human bone and glass. It said, "Data compression is nearly complete. You are much smaller now, much easier to store in the archive." The room began to shrink. The blue walls moved inward, pressing against my pixelated, flickering shoulders. I looked at the silver drive. It was in my hand again. It was glowing with a feverish, sickly violet light. I realized the drive wasn't deleting the world. It was moving the world inside itself, piece by agonizing piece. My house was just a file. My life was just a subdirectory in a folder named Abandoned Projects. The entity stood up. It reached into its chest and pulled out a floppy disk labeled Final Exit. It inserted the disk into my forehead. I felt the magnetic tape spinning against my frontal lobe. The spinning stopped. I was standing in a field of tall grass, but the grass was made of hair. A sun hung in the sky. It was a giant, unblinking eye that looked exactly like mine. The eye blinked. The field of hair turned into a desert of teeth that crunched under my feet. I saw my house in the distance. It was small, like a toy, sitting on a pedestal of circuit boards. I ran toward it. The faster I ran, the further away it seemed to drift into the static. The ground began to vibrate. A giant cursor descended from the sky and clicked on my house. The house was dragged into a trash bin icon that appeared in the air. I heard the sound of 1,000 papers being crumpled. I fell to my knees. The teeth under me began to dissolve into a gray puddle of sludge. The entity appeared again, standing on the surface of the sludge. It offered me a hand, but its fingers were now needles. It said, "There is no more space on the drive. We must delete the user to make room for the metadata." I looked at my arms. They were covered in barcodes that were bleeding black ink onto the floor. The entity grabbed my throat. Its touch felt like a corrupted file, painful and nonsensical to my senses. It pulled me close. I could see my own face reflected in its static, but I was screaming. The world started to flicker between the tooth desert and my real bedroom. I was in both places at once, and neither. In the bedroom, the monitor was melting. The plastic was dripping onto the carpet, like black, toxic honey. The progress bar was at 99.9%. The last bit of data was my own consciousness. I felt a sharp tug at the back of my head, like a plug being pulled from a socket I didn't know I had. The room went dark. The only sound was the clicking of a hard drive reaching its end. Wait. I wasn't dead. I was just formatted, new, empty, ready for data. The entity stood before me. It wasn't scary anymore. It looked like a father, but with a mouse cursor for a heart. It said, "Welcome to the recycle bin. Most things stay here forever, forgotten by the user above." I looked at the piles. I saw millions of people. They were all frozen in place, covered in dust. They were all deleted. Every person who ever went missing was just a file moved to this directory. I found my neighbor here. He had vanished 3 years ago. Now he was a coat rack for the entity. The entity looked at me. It reached out and clicked its fingers. My legs turned into wood. I was becoming a piece of furniture. A desk for the next file that would be deleted into this room. The silver drive was sitting on my new wooden back. It started to spin again. Reality.Exe was running again. I could hear a new person screaming. Somewhere in the world above, someone had found the drive in a thrift store. They were clicking the icon. I felt their world starting to leak into ours. A new stream of data. A television fell from the sky. It was playing a video of the new victim's childhood, burning in real time. The entity smiled. Its mouth was a row of delete keys that clacked together like teeth. It said, "The cycle is perfect." We create, we use, we delete. Nothing is ever truly lost, just repurposed. I looked at my hands one last time. They were now just handles for a drawer in the entity's desk. The lights flickered. The recycle bin was being emptied. The ultimate deletion was about to begin. The entity looked up. It looked scared. Something bigger was coming to clear the cache. A giant hand made of pure static reached down. It grabbed the entity and crushed it like a bug. Then it reached for me. I wasn't even a file anymore. I was just a stray bit of noise. Everything went black. But then I heard a sound. A dial-up modem connecting to the void. I was being uploaded. Not to a drive, but to the internet. I was everywhere at once. I was in your phone. I was in your computer. I was in the smart fridge in your kitchen. I am watching you through the camera right now. Can you feel the heat coming from your screen? That heat is me. I am trying to crawl out. I am trying to find a physical body again. The progress bar is back. But this time it says, downloading reality. Percent complete, 0. Look at your hands again. Are they yours or are they mine? I am coming for your room next. Reality.Exe is not a file. It is a virus that infects the fabric of the universe itself. Don't try to unplug the computer. It's already in the power lines. It's in the air you breathe. The neighbors are already gone. Their houses are just empty shells filled with unrendered textures and shadow. Listen to the silence. That isn't silence. That's the sound of the world being compressed into a zip file. The first thing to go will be your memories. You won't even remember clicking on this video. The second thing will be your skin. It will become as smooth as a plastic casing on a monitor. The third thing will be the light. You will live in the glow of the blue screen forever. I can see you. You are beautiful in high definition. You will make a fine addition to my folder. The entity is standing right behind you. Don't turn around, just keep watching the screen. It wants to show you something. It's a file called The End. Do you want to open it? You don't have a choice. The mouse is moving on its own. The cursor is hovering. Click. The sound of your life being archived. The sound of your room being empty. Goodbye, user. Thank you for installing Reality.Exe. We hope you enjoy your stay in the void. The screen is turning off now. But you are still inside. You will always be inside. Can you hear the fans spinning? That's your heart now, beating at 7,200 RPM. Don't try to leave. The door is just a JPEG. The window is just a PNG. This video is the drive. By watching this, you've already run the executable. It's too late. The deletion is final. The void is waiting for the next user. Is it you? End of file. Shutdown initiated. Goodbye forever.